It begins in silence, a dog alone in a room, for walls closing in, the ticking of a clock louder than thunder in its ears. The humans who promised companionship are gone, and what's left behind is fear. A fear that builds, claws, and tears from within. For millions of dogs, this is not just a moment, it's their daily reality. Dog anxiety is not new, but today, it's worse than ever. In homes across the world, our most loyal companions suffer silently while we, their caretakers, often make mistakes that unknowingly deepen their pain. But here's the haunting truth: it's not just about fear. Anxiety in dogs rewires their brains, reshapes their hearts, and in some cases shatters the bond we thought was unbreakable, and too often it ends in tragedy. Why is this happening? Why are more dogs suffering now than ever before? The answers are uncomfortable because many of us are guilty of the very mistakes causing it. Tonight, we uncover the 5 hidden mistakes that are quietly fueling a crisis in our homes. Mistakes that push dogs toward panic, despair, and even death. And yet, within this story, lies hope, because once you see the truth, you can save not just your dog's peace of mind, but their very life. This is not just a documentary about animals. It's a mirror held up to us to how we love, how we fail, and how we can do better. Because the bond between humans and dogs is fragile, and in this story, every heartbeat matters. To understand why dog anxiety is spiraling out of control, we have to step back. We have to ask the question no one wants to face: what have we done to man's best friend? For thousands of years, dogs lived at our side, hunters, guardians, companions. They worked, they ran, they served. But in just a few short decades, everything changed. Dogs became pets, then possessions. And now they are prisoners of our modern lifestyle. The American Veterinary Medical Association estimates that nearly 40% of all dogs show signs of anxiety disorders, and in certain breeds, it's even higher. The cases are climbing, the shelters are filling, and the truth is undeniable: dog anxiety is not rare, it's an epidemic. And yet, it's often invisible until it's too late. Many families never realize their dogs are suffering until the carpet is shredded, the neighbor complains, or the shelter door closes behind them. This is Bella. On camera, she looks calm, but inside, her cortisol levels, the hormone of stress, are spiking through her body. Her heart races, her breath shortens. She is in survival mode, and her owners, they believe she's simply resting. Dog anxiety isn't just a mood, it's biology. Stress rewires the canine brain. Neural pathways designed for learning and bonding get hijacked by circuits of fear. The amygdala, the brain's alarm bell, goes into overdrive. And with each episode, the dog learns to expect more fear tomorrow. Left unchecked, anxiety doesn't just scar the mind, it weakens the body. Studies show stressed dogs face higher risks of heart disease, digestive issues, even shortened lifespans. For them, anxiety is not an emotion, it's a slow death. Here lies the cruel paradox: while we flood social media with pictures of wagging tails and happy families, millions of dogs live a hidden double life, outwardly adored, inwardly abandoned. And the saddest part, much of this suffering is preventable. Because behind the epidemic, behind the panic and despair, are patterns, simple mistakes. Mistakes made every day by loving families who never realize they are fueling their dog's anxiety. What if the problem is not the dogs, but us? What if, in our rush for convenience, for quick fixes, for love on our terms, we are the architects of their suffering? Tonight, we expose the 5 mistakes that quietly destroy a dog's peace of mind. Mistakes that can turn love into fear and companionship into captivity. But we also uncover the path back, because within every anxious heartbeat, there is hope. Mistake number 1: love that feels like fear. We love our dogs. We kiss them, we hug them, we hold them close. But sometimes, the very thing we call love feels like fear to them. Dogs don't understand hugs the way humans do. To us, it's affection. To them, it can feel like restraint, a trap, even a threat. This is Max, a Labrador retriever. His family adores him. But when their young son squeezes Max after school, they don't see the warning signs: stiffened muscles, pinned ears, the whites of his eyes. They post the picture online, captioned with love. But inside, Max is begging, "Please, let me go." One day, that silent plea can become a snap. Not because Max is aggressive, but because he is afraid. And fear is the soil where anxiety grows. Dogs show stress in ways many of us miss. They lick their lips, they yawn when they're not tired. They turn their heads away. These are not quirks. They are signals, a language of discomfort. Canine behaviorists call this the ladder of stress. At the bottom, small signals, subtle whispers. But if ignored, the dog climbs higher, growling, snapping, even biting. Not because they want to hurt us, but because we didn't listen to their softer cries for space. For rescue dogs, the mistake cuts deeper. Many arrive from homes of neglect or abuse. They flinch at sudden contact, hide from human touch. And yet, in our excitement to love them, we overwhelm them, we smother them, and the trauma repeats. To a wounded soul, even gentle love can echo the grip of a cruel hand from the past. Neuroscience reveals why, when dogs feel trapped, their amygdala fires an alarm, flooding the brain with adrenaline and cortisol. Over time, repeated stress changes brain wiring, making anxiety the dog's default state. What we intended as love becomes the trigger of fear. When Daisy, a terrier mix, was rescued from a hoarding situation, volunteers couldn't wait to show her love. They hugged her, kissed her, surrounded her with affection. But Daisy didn't see love, she saw walls closing in. Within days, she refused food, shredded her crate, and collapsed in exhaustion. Her new family feared she was beyond saving. But then, they tried something different. Instead of hugs, they offered space. Instead of forcing contact, they let Daisy choose. Day by day, she learned that love could be gentle. That affection could mean safety, not fear, and slowly Daisy returned. Her story reveals a truth every dog owner must learn. Love must speak the dog's language, not ours. So how do we prevent this mistake? The answer is simple, but powerful. Love your dog in ways they understand. Respect their space, learn their signals. Let them come to you. Instead of forcing closeness, avoid hugging tightly. Instead, sit near them and let them lean on you. Approach from the side, not head on. Watch for calming signals, lip licking, yawning, turning away. Reward trust with gentle touch, not restraint. When we shift from love that feels like fear to love that feels like choice, something miraculous happens. Dogs bloom, anxiety softens, and the bond deepens in ways no forced hug ever could. But love isn't the only mistake. Sometimes, it's absence. The silence of an empty home, the long hours ticking away. And for millions of dogs, this silence becomes torture. Mistake number 2. The loneliness we created. Dogs are pack animals. For thousands of years, they lived by our side, hunting, guarding, walking with us. But in today's world, something has changed. The pack is gone. The hours are long. And for many dogs, the home has become a prison of silence. What we call independence, they feel as abandonment. What we see as normal work hours, they live as endless waiting. And this waiting leaves scars we cannot always see. Charlie the Beagle loved his owner more than anything. But every morning at 8 a.m., the door closed and Charlie's world collapsed. He howled, clawed, chewed until his gums bled. By the time his owner returned at 6 p.m., the house was destroyed. Neighbors complained. The vet diagnosed separation anxiety. But for Charlie, it was heartbreak. Separation anxiety is one of the most common behavioral issues in modern dogs. Studies show up to 20% of dogs may suffer from it. And the signs are heartbreaking: destructive chewing, non-stop barking, accidents inside the house. But beneath the mess lies something deeper: pure panic. When left alone, an anxious dog's body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. Their heart rate spikes, their breathing quickens. In brain scans, separation triggers the same neural pathways as physical pain. For dogs, being alone isn't just sad, it literally hurts. In one study, researchers placed hidden cameras in homes of dogs left alone. What they captured was haunting. Dogs staring at doors for hours, pacing in endless circles. Some sat trembling, too anxious to drink water. For them, every creak of the building, every distant car door, was a promise their human might return, and every minute stretched like eternity. We don't see it because we're not there, but their suffering is real. And it's a mistake we make every day, not out of cruelty, but out of busy lives. Some dogs recover the moment we return, but for others, the trauma lingers. Research shows that dogs with chronic separation anxiety may rewire their stress pathways, making them hyperalert even when we are home. The absence becomes a wound that never heals fully. Imagine waiting every day for the one you love, not knowing if they'll come back. That is the reality of millions of dogs right now, behind closed doors. Molly the golden retriever waited by the window every day. She didn't eat, didn't play, she just watched. When her owner finally came home, her joy was explosive, almost frantic. But underneath, Molly wasn't happy. She was desperate. And desperation is the shadow of loneliness. This mistake doesn't just break hearts, it breaks health. Chronic stress weakens a dog's immune system, raises risk of heart disease, and shortens lifespan. The loneliness we created is slowly killing them, but here is the good news: we can fix it, not by quitting jobs or never leaving home, but by preparing our dogs for our absence. Here's how. Give them a job, puzzle feeders, chew toys, or scent games. Break up the day, a dog walker, neighbor, or even doggy daycare. Leave behind comfort, music, TV, or your scent on a blanket. Train gradually. Teach them that being alone doesn't mean being abandoned. When we change the silence of absence into the comfort of safety, our dogs stop fearing the door and start trusting that we will always return. But loneliness isn't the only hidden mistake. Sometimes the danger comes from what we place right in front of them. A mistake that doesn't just create fear, but can take their life. Mistake number 3, the silent killer in the bowl. Every day, millions of dog owners do it without thinking. They scoop the food, pour it into the bowl, and watch their dog devour it. But what if I told you the very thing you believe is nourishing them could also be destroying them silently, meal by meal? It doesn't happen instantly. It doesn't look like poison. But this mistake is claiming thousands of canine lives each year. And the worst part, most owners never realize the danger until it's too late. Max, a 6-year-old Labrador, ate dinner like he always did, fast, eager, unstoppable. Hours later, he was restless, his belly hard, his breath shallow. By morning, Max was gone. The cause? Gastric dilatation volvulus, or GDV, also known as bloat, a silent killer hiding in the bowl. Bloat happens when a dog's stomach fills with food, gas, or fluid and twists upon itself. Once twisted, blood supply cuts off, organs shut down, and death can occur within hours. Large breeds like Great Danes, German Shepherds, and Labradors are most at risk. But no dog is immune. What causes it? Fast eating, overfilled bowls, raised feeders, even stress at mealtime, mistakes we make without knowing. At a Midwest shelter, staff began to notice a terrifying pattern. Dogs who bolted their food were the same ones rushed to emergency clinics. After reviewing cases, vets discovered that dogs eating rapidly were 5 times more likely to develop bloat. The culprit wasn't the food itself, it was how it was served. When dogs gulp food, they also swallow large amounts of air. This trapped air expands in the stomach, stretching tissue and setting the stage for disaster. And when we feed them one giant meal a day, the risk multiplies. But bloat isn't the only danger lurking in the bowl. Processed kibble, laden with fillers, dyes, and preservatives, is being linked to allergies, obesity, and even cancer in dogs. For years, we trusted the bag without question. But behind the glossy pictures of happy dogs and fresh meat, the truth is harder to swallow. In 2018, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration issued a warning certain grain-free dog foods were being linked to dilated cardiomyopathy, a deadly heart condition. Suddenly, the premium diets marketed as healthier alternatives were under fire. The very foods owners bought to protect their pets were quietly killing them. For many owners, the first symptom wasn't weight loss or weakness, it was sudden collapse. And by then, it was often too late. Luna, a 5-year-old boxer, was on a trendy grain-free diet. No one suspected the peas and lentils in her food were slowly starving her heart of taurine, an essential nutrient. By the time vets connected the dots, Luna was gone. Not all grain-free diets are deadly. Not every brand is dangerous. But the truth is, we often trust the marketing more than the science. And in doing so, we risk turning our dogs' bowls into slow weapons. But here's the hope. We can make small changes that save lives. Slow feeder bowls force dogs to eat more calmly. Smaller meals spread throughout the day reduce bloat risk. Adding fresh, whole foods improves nutrition. And consulting a trusted vet before switching diets may prevent hidden dangers. The bowl doesn't have to be a silent killer. It can be a source of safety, strength, and joy if we choose wisely. But not all dangers are physical. Some are psychological fears we trigger without knowing, scars we leave without meaning to. And for many dogs, it's the mistake that haunts them long after the night has passed. Mistake number 4, the fear we create. Some scars aren't carved into flesh. They live in silence, in shadows, in memories. The mistake isn't always what we feed or how we leave them. Sometimes it's the fear we create. Dogs are creatures of memory. They do not forget kindness, and they do not forget terror. Yet many owners unknowingly create an environment of fear, thinking discipline is teaching or that loud sounds mean nothing. But to a dog, fear can be poison. Bella, a golden retriever, once loved her backyard. But one 4th of July, fireworks erupted nearby. To Bella, the sky wasn't celebrating, it was falling apart. The explosions rewired her brain. From that night on, every crackle, every bang, even the pop of a balloon sent her into a spiral of panic. Dogs experience noise phobias at rates far higher than most owners realize. Studies estimate that nearly 1 in 2 dogs suffers from anxiety triggered by loud sounds, thunderstorms, fireworks, vacuum cleaners. And once trauma takes root, the memory doesn't fade. It deepens. The brain encodes fear faster than joy. One terrifying event can carve pathways of anxiety that no amount of toys or treats can erase. And often owners make the mistake worse. When a dog trembles during fireworks, many owners rush to cuddle them. But in the dog's mind, fear plus comfort equals reinforcement. The brain learns this must be a real danger. Each hug, though loving, can accidentally confirm the terror. The correct response isn't to punish or over-comfort. It's to remain calm, neutral, and provide controlled distractions, puzzle toys, soft background music, or desensitization training long before the fireworks begin. Fear cannot be erased, but it can be reshaped. Sammy, a rescued beagle, froze every time he saw a leash. His fear wasn't irrational, it was memory. A past owner had yanked, dragged, and punished him so often that leather became a weapon in his mind. It took months of gentle exposure, patience, and trust before the leash was no longer a symbol of pain. This is the reality of fear conditioning. The brain ties objects, places, even people to trauma. A raised voice, a slammed door, a rough grab at the collar, each small moment writes fear into the nervous system. And the mistake is believing dogs get over it. They don't. They adapt in silence. Fear releases cortisol, the stress hormone. In the short term, it prepares the body for survival. But in the long term, constant cortisol damages the heart, suppresses immunity, and shortens lifespan. Chronic fear doesn't just scar emotions, it kills slowly. Here's the most haunting truth. Sometimes we create fear while thinking we are creating love. We dress them in costumes for photo shoots. We bring them to loud birthday parties. We force them to say hi to strangers or other dogs. We confuse human fun with canine comfort, and in doing so, we break their trust. They don't have the words to say no. They only have body language, tucked tails, averted eyes, panting, freezing. Signals we often miss, or worse, dismiss, but fear doesn't have to be a life sentence. With patience, training, and empathy, even the most haunted dogs can heal. Desensitization therapy, exposing dogs gradually to their fears, rewires the brain. Counter-conditioning, pairing scary events with positive outcomes, rebuilds trust. The mistake isn't that fear exists. It's that we create it and then fail to help them heal. Dogs don't need perfection. They need safety, patience, and the assurance that their world isn't falling apart. And when they have that, fear becomes trust, panic becomes peace, and trembling becomes tail wags. But there is one mistake more devastating than food, more haunting than noise, more painful than punishment. It's not what we do to them, it's what we fail to give them. And for many dogs, it's the loneliest mistake of all. Mistake number 5, the love they are starving for. The final mistake dish to our dogs is not cruelty. It's not neglect of food or water. It's not punishment or fear. The most devastating mistake is absence. The love they are starving for. To humans, time is busy. Work, school, screens, schedules, but to a dog time is only you. Every second without you feels like forever, and in that forever, loneliness grows. Max, a Labrador, waited faithfully at the door every night. But his owner came home too tired, too distracted, too consumed by life. Day after day, Max's wag slowed, until one evening it didn't come at all. Dogs do not measure love by gifts, they measure it in moments. And when those moments vanish, so does their spirit. Left alone too long, dogs can develop what scientists call separation anxiety disorder, a psychological condition so powerful it can trigger vomiting, self-injury, and obsessive behaviors. Not from hunger, not from pain, but from heartbreak. Bruno, a German Shepherd, cried for 7 hours every day while his owner was at work. To the owner, Bruno was fine. To the camera, Bruno was drowning in silence. Only when the truth was exposed did the healing begin. The tragedy is dogs suffer the same way humans do. Just as solitary confinement breaks prisoners, isolation breaks dogs. They are pack animals wired by evolution for constant companionship. A lonely dog is not living, it is waiting endlessly. And the mistake we make is thinking they'll be okay, thinking toys or fenced yards can replace us. They can't, because to them, we are not owners. We are family. Their world begins and ends with us. Daisy didn't need expensive toys or special diets or elaborate training. She needed presence, she needed time, she needed someone to simply show up. And when she got that, she came back to life. Scientists discovered that when a dog makes eye contact with its owner, both brains release oxytocin, the same hormone that bonds mother to child. A single look, a single touch, rewires chemistry. Dogs do not starve for food, they starve for connection. But modern life has made love scarce, screens steal attention. Jobs steal hours, stress steals energy, and in the robbery dogs are left behind. Not abused, not neglected in food or shelter, but starved of what they crave most, us. But here's the miracle, it doesn't take much to save them. 10 minutes of play, a walk where you're present, not scrolling. A hand resting on their fur as you breathe together. To them, that is love, that is everything. The 5 mistakes we make with dogs aren't born of malice, they're born of ignorance. We feed them wrong, we leave them wrong, we punish them wrong, we frighten them wrong, and worst of all, we forget to give them the love they're starving for. But mistakes can be corrected, fear can be healed, trust can be rebuilt. And love can bring even the most broken soul back to life. But what if dogs could tell us what they remember most? The love, the fear, the moments we thought they forgot. Science is uncovering haunting truths about canine memory, truths that may change everything we thought we knew about them. If this story moved you, help us keep telling them. Hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Triller Pictures. Together, we can shine a light on the stories too many overlook and give a voice to those who cannot speak. This is Triller Pictures, where every animal's story matters.